Lever actions have always been popular. And before I go into talking about this Rossi R95 made in Brazil, I have to tell you, somehow I know a lot of German people, maybe because of my German background. And in Europe, the straight pull bolt actions are very popular these days. The Blazer R93 and the R8 and the Heim, and there are so many. I think we reviewed the Beretta. And whenever I'm talking to these fellows, I always say, well, we solved the rapid reloading problem like long ago. And the solution, if you're looking for a firearm that fires from the shoulder, where you don't have to really readjust your face or your hand, the lever action is it. Now, they may not like lever actions in Europe, or not yet. Maybe the revelation has not come. The lever action is fantastic. Anyhow, what else can I tell you? Knew a guy who worked high up in Mossberg. This was a few years ago when the Model 94 Winchester was no longer being made in Connecticut or by Winchester in the United States. And he said the demand for lever actions like this, whether it's the Marlin configuration or the Winchester and their various models going back in time, doesn't really matter. The North American demand is so huge that there just is always a place for a manufacturer with an excellent lever action. You may know all these things. And here we have the Rossi. By the way, that Mossberg executive was talking about the Mossberg 464, which I had a lot of good things to say about. I had nothing but good experiences with the Mossberg, or all Mossbergs. Anyway, they brought out the 464 and sold, who knows how many because of that gap in the market. Then Winchester started making the 94 again in Japan, but to a different price point. By the way, I heard a pretty good rumor. It's always hard for me to know the accuracy of rumors, and the firearms industry is full of rumors, but apparently there's a chance that we see Model 94s being made in the United States again, which would be really cool. As you know, the Ruger is making the Marlin essentially, and this is a Marlin for all practical purposes, but the price point is different. And it says here, made in Brazil by CBC. I don't know who CBC is. Caliber 30 Winchester. That's not exciting. And the only thing I know is that the steel is excellent. This runs really slick. There are rifles where where you work the action and it doesn't feel like this. And Brazil has always made great firearms. I think they have some, or used to have some unusual laws down there, which kind of contain their economy and their citizens, and maybe they're breaking out of that now. And in fact, my first shotgun, or one of the first, there have been so many, was a side-by-side. And I think it said Amadeo at the time, Amadeo Rossi, Brazil. But I should just start shooting. I have to thank Reliable Gun. They supplied this Rossi. And maybe let's go over it. So the steel is excellent, the action is excellent, because all they had to do was make a Marlin really well. And they're up against the Ruger, but the Ruger is a completely different price point. We've got some unique stippling instead of checkering. And I guess if I were talking to the executives in Brazil, I would say maybe fire up those laser machines. And not that there's anything wrong with stippling, but some people might say checkering is nicer. Everything else about this firearm is familiar to you and wonderful, because you can buy a brand new first-class lever action that is faster than most of the straight pulls, Granted, the cartridges are a little weaker, but I think North American shooters are quite realistic, and the game they're after is most of the time 200 yards. And yes, there are spectacular shots being made at all these other yardages, but I kind of just love the lever action 30-30. In fact, we've got a model 64 Winchester, which we'll shoot today if I stop talking. So on that note, I've got some Herters ammunition from Cabela's, and I like the Herters ammunition because my mother's maiden name was Herter. She was born in Dortmund. Anyway, loading, very simple. By the way, I have frozen fingers, but it doesn't matter. These lever actions work no matter what. And we shot a few rounds. Well, hopefully I'll hit something. What did I want to say? This loading gate lever spring is quite strong. So you have to kind of fight it. My gloves are getting caught, but this is quite realistic. I want to film this because when it's 20 below, which is quite realistic, and you know, the Dakotas and Canada, other parts of the world, you have to work with gloves. This one has a finger that you can use for the trigger. So we're ready to go. You'll see it feed and lower that. It's got a crossbolt safety. We've got our targets, and I haven't shot at these. Conditions are fine, but we have a, I don't know, 60 mile an hour, no, not that fast, 60 kilometer an hour wind. Well, we'll see what we hit. This thing is unbelievable. It's a great lever action. Instinctive, confidence building shooting. So you can probably tell I love this rifle. It's the price and the performance. Fantastic. I can tell you, we put those orange stickers on, and in case you don't know, I usually have with me that 3M adhesive. It's a spray adhesive, 77 or 7. I buy it on Amazon, but with the adhesive that's on the orange stickers, they just blow off. Anyway, I put in 5 rounds, and it's just so fun shooting these lever actions. And this one is so slick. So that is definitely some venison. We'll shoot at the 100-yard target. I have to go repair the closer target. We'll reload and see how this works at 100. It's funny, you know. These are commercial targets. They fall apart. My targets fall apart. I'll have to think of what to do next. Anyway, we'll take a break and reload. I forgot to tell you about one feature that I think is really beneficial and makes a lasting difference. Take a look at the bolt. It's like a Sacco extractor, and on the Marlin and most of the copies, maybe all of them, it's that spring thing. And I've had that, they crack sometimes. You know, this is just released, but still, I think this is a better system, and it took some retooling and rethinking, but this is an excellent idea. I think they should all switch to this system. Now, maybe the purists want that spring thing, but when it's split in 2 on the ground, it's not that great. Anyway, this is really good. I forgot to mention that somebody was telling me that Rossi in Brazil bought the Marlin tooling. Somebody could tell me whether that's actually so. Could be a sense to it, but whatever they did, they've got it pretty well 100% right. And we've got another 5 rounds to go, so we'll try that more distant target. You can hear the slickness of that steel. So, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know what I would call that. I would call that deer hunting shooting. You know, offhand, 100 yards, we measured. And you're just shooting as quick as you can because you have to get the job done. And these lever actions are really just unbeatable. I would give this Rossi A+. You know, people talk about this crossbolt safety, but we're not going to get away from those crossbolt safeties for, well, the foreseeable future. Too many lawyers around. It's a great piece. Somebody will ask me about this wood. I don't know what kind of wood it is, but whatever it is, it's hard and it's strong. This is a rifle you can hunt with for a lifetime. And the 30-30, especially, you know, if you want a little more trajectory, then get those lever revolution rounds. But I really never care for that. Look at how far 100 yards is. Oh, and I was talking to a shooting instructor or somebody, and I said, yeah, but I don't shoot at those distances, like 200, 400, and so on. And he said, Mike, that's because you know what distances you shoot at. Most people who are making 400-yard shots, or so they say, are making 200-yard shots. Anyway, that's 100. And that, to me, is a respectable distance. Now, these are fine iron sights, you know, Rocky Mountain buckhorn sights, yeah. Maybe not the greatest idea. They obscure the target. But by the way, there's a way of aiming with a Rocky Mountain buckhorn. So you use the lower U-notch for one distance, and you use the upper buckhorn space, almost like an aperture. But this is too hard to describe, and people will say I need help and things like that. But anyway, that's how they work, and I know they do because I've tried it. That was the idea with the buckhorns. Anyway, I think I'll wind up there. Rossi R95, thank you, reliable, beautiful, light, fast, fancy, accurate rifle. And I'm not the best shot in the world, and I still did fine. All right, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care until then.